we are going to be painting an Allarus Custodian in my Shadowkeeper style. So far I've already got him base coated except for the gems on him. The gems I like to do at the end once the model's all pretty much done. Just helps the gems pop out a little bit more against the rest of the armor. I'm going to run through my base coats really quick just so you kind of know what I did to get up to this stage. For all the black, I just had it done in Abaddon black. Just the spray can worked for me. I didn't have to go re-go over it or anything like that. All the red, I started off with a base of corn red, just on all the areas I think would look nice with the red, like on the handle here, the tassels, in the shoulder pads, the plume, etc. All the silver pieces, I started off with just lead belcher. I like doing the inside of the mask there because I feel it makes the rest of the helmet kind of pop. And all the gold, of course, I use Retributor gold. Getting all the nice trim and details on there. I also did it on the shells right here on his grenade launcher. And for the tassels, on the back and front, I use Xandri dust. So for this step after everything's base coated, I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice heavy wash of nuln oil, just to get everything darkened down and kind of give it that grimy look that I go for with the rest of my models. So let's get started. So we're going to start on just kind of a flatter part of the model like I usually do. Maybe we'll start on the top and kind of pull it around. Making sure that we're getting everything, but we're not letting it pool too much in some spots. Because we want this to grime it up, but we don't want it to clog a lot of detail. The way I kind of learned to do this style with the nuln oil is through trial and error, just kind of seeing what works, but I mainly did it with my tanks for heresy for my world eaters. Because for using nuln oil on models that large, you really have to just kind of cake it on there and get it around. So I refined it and kind of pulled back when it comes to the smaller models, but I feel like it really helps develop the model and give it such a depth that you don't really get by just kind of dabbing it here or dabbing it there. But we'll go through and give them a nice coat. So now we have that nuln oil coat on there and just kind of drying. You can kind of see in some spots where I had to just pull up a little bit on the edges or down in those recesses along the shoulder pads there. There's some spots I do go through and I kind of clear it out as I'm going because I don't want that detail to get clogged, because that detail is a bit more recessed and it's easier for the nuln oil to really pool and just kind of make a mess of it. That's like the lenses in there. He doesn't really have too many. I suppose that little holes right there on his front chest plate also can really catch that nuln oil and kind of make a mess out of things. But overall, the smoother the model, the easier it is to spread the nuln oil around where it won't sit and congeal and make a mess. But yeah, and once this is all dry, we're going to go ahead and switch to highlighting. We'll start by highlighting the red. It's usually where I start, is doing the non-metallics first, just because the non-metallics don't have that little flaky material they put in the paint to make everything shimmer. If you start off with the metallics, as you're cleaning your brushes between paints, that can sometimes stick to your brush and make your surfaces you don't want shinier than they're supposed to be. But to start off, we'll hit all erased portions with Infested Red, followed by Evil Sun Scarlet, lastly with Wild Riders Red. Sometime, and that's, don't want to knock him over quite yet. I'll do it on the table, not here. But if you want to go a little bit higher with your highlights, if you want to make the red really pop or have a really sharp red, like especially in the lenses, going to an orange can actually make that highest point of the red really pop. And if you want the red to be shiny, kind of like a reflective surface, like maybe on his shoulder pads here, maybe not so much on the tassel or the cloak, you can go over it with Spirit Stone Red, and it really gives that nice glossy look to the armor. but let's get into it. Alright, kind of going to go through my process here a little bit, just to kind of explain how I'm highlighting everything before I go ahead and just get the whole model done. So I got some Mephiston on my brush here, and we're going to go ahead and hit the higher portions of the shoulder. Getting in between the gold, pulling it down just past that edge right there. Because the way I highlight is you want to think of it as a 3D space where there's light above the model coming down on them. So if I kind of go up here towards that light, you can see that highlight changes depending on how it's facing the light. Directly above, you can see the lower part of that shoulder is going to stay darker, while the higher part is going to be a little bit brighter. So we want to drag that light down and kind of diffuse it towards the bottom. And each time we do that, the brighter the paint we have, we want to bring it down less and less. So we have that first little bit of Mephiston on there, coming almost all the way to the bottom, but not quite all the way down. So then we're going to hop to Evil Sons. Oh, I might have put a little bit too much on that brush. That's okay. You don't get too much on your brush, just clean it off and try to get a little less of a dab. The paints I've got in my pots are pretty watered down, well, not watered down, I should say smooth, so I don't have to add water to them like on a wet palette. I'm happy with their consistency, so I just grab right from the pot and bring it to the model. So, dragging that just from the top. Now we have that nice gradient going from the higher highlights down to. And then our highest highlight, Wild Riders. Getting way, way up at the top. So you can see right there we have that nice gradient going from very, very bright, cooling down to the darker tones on the bottom. Now this is where, and I'm going to do it because I always do my models like this, where I'm going to put some Troll Slayer Orange just on the top of that. Just right on the edge of the shoulder up in here. I almost grabbed the wrong paint there. Just right at the top of that. So you have that really bright at the top and then goes down. But I'm going to go ahead and repeat this process over the whole model, and I'll be right back. Alright, now that we have all that red done around the model, I might do a little bit more Mephiston on the back to kind of get a better gradient, but you can really see how it popped up on the shoulders there. Now I'm going to move to the gold, and to do that, we're going to highlight it with Liberator Gold, just on those high raised edges, followed up by Stormhost Silver. Let's get into it. gold finished up, have our highlights all nice and pointing towards the sky. Forgot to mention that when I went through and did the gold, I also did all of the silver bits as well with Stormhold Silver. Now we just have to go through and finish up the main body, which is all the black on the armor and the weapon, as well as hitting the tassels on the front and on the back of the model. Now, this method of highlighting, where you're highlighting from a certain light source, like the sun or lights above the model, the lower half of the model may not really get highlights as much in here as it will on the top, and bits that are sticking out are going in front of the model. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and give some highlighting to the black portions. For that, we're going to use, somewhere in my paint file, Mechanicus Standard Gray, followed up by some Dawnstone. And for these tassels here, I'm just going to hit that with some Rackard Flesh to bring it up just nicely. But, let's get into it. Alright, now we got the model all highlighted with the black, including the little tassels down here, and that Rackard Flesh. Lastly, we have to do the gems on the model, which are like on top of the shoulder, on top of the shoulders, on the forehead, just really scattered throughout the model. And the way I like to do gems, I'm doing them in red. Of course, you can do whatever color you choose, but it's the same way I did the red, like on the shoulder pads. It's going to be a Festin Red, followed by Evil Sons, then Wild Riders, and just a last little dollop of Troll Slayer's Orange, and then coated with Spirit Stone Red so they get that nice shine to them. So, let's go ahead and get started. Gems on the model done. I really like doing these in red because it makes the dark contrast of the armor kind of pop, but you can do these gems in really whatever color you want, blue, green, yellow if you really wanted to, etc. But last step of this is to base the model however you choose. I usually like to do kind of a lighter base on the model just because it has that nice, light to dark contrast. Gonna quick run through the colors I use for this model, no specific order, but just how I did it. Base coated all the black with Abaddon Black, based all the gold segments with Retributor Armor, all the silver with Lead Belcher, and all the red with Corn Red, and I used Xandri Dust for the little tassels. Followed by going a gradient to the black, Abaddon Mechanicus Dawnstone, the gold, Retributor Liberator Stormholst, the silver Lead Belcher Stormholst, the red Mephiston, Evil Sons, Wild Riders, Troll Slayer Orange, and then followed by a quick little wash with Spirit Stone Red. Followed that same scheme for the gems. I just didn't use the Spirit Stone on the more cloth patterns of the armor. And of course, when everything is based in that Abaddon, Retributor, Lead Belcher, and Corn Red, wash the whole thing with a aggressive and beneficial, no, that's not the word, but I explained it earlier in the video, but give it a nice wash of nuln oil. Thank you guys for watching, and any advice, critiques, etc., please let me know in the comments or on my TikTok, and I'll see you guys next time.